All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we are going to talk about Russell Wilson and, just his recent comments on, wanting to come back to the Steelers. And I know I talked about this last week, but, there's those rumblings about maybe wanting to reunite with Pete Carroll in Vegas. And, right now, he wants to stay in Pittsburgh. He has repeatedly stated his preference is to return to the Steelers, and talked about his love for the team, unfinished business, all that. And we talked about this. Who should the Steelers go with? Should it be him, Justin Fields? I leaned more towards Justin Fields, just because I feel like you could get more out of him. But this is what Russ said. He said his plan was to return with the Steelers, adding that there was a lot more to do after his first season with the team ended. He said, I'm looking forward to hopefully going back to the Steelers, and we'll see what happens with the rest. I love it in Pittsburgh. And this is also what he said. Pete's going to be a great coach, obviously. This is on Pete Carroll. He's great at what he does, but I'm focused on the Steelers. I've been very fortunate to play 13-plus years, and I've got a lot more ball left in me. I think staying healthy is always the thing. You've got to be healthy to play your best, and I feel great right now. Because earlier in the year, he didn't start out, the year. He missed, some time because of the calf injury, and then he got healthy. And then the Steelers inserted him back into the starting lineup. And, I thought he played okay. His numbers ended up not being that bad. He did go 6-5 as a starter. But, yeah, in 11 games, 2,400 yards passing, 16 touchdowns, 5 picks. I mean, it's not bad. The problem is the Steelers, once again, were one and done. And you knew going into that game against the Ravens, the playoff game, that they just were not going to win. I mean, I kept saying, well, maybe, they're due for a win. It's just the Ravens were the better team. And Russ is just not the same quarterback. Now, I still think he could be a starter. I think he proved that to you. But he is not an elite level starter. He is not the same Russell Wilson that we saw in Seattle. And I've been saying that constantly. That guy just does not exist anymore. Now, I said, could a potential Russell Wilson Pete Carroll reunion work? I mean, I guess, but I don't know if that's going to happen. Russ liked it in Pittsburgh, and I think, the Russ that we saw in Pittsburgh was definitely the Russ that we saw, better than the Russ that we saw in Denver. I agree with that. I apologize with my camera today. It's just, again, acting up. But, yeah, no, definitely agree with that. That the Russ that we saw in Pittsburgh is definitely better than the Russ we saw in Denver. But the Steelers, they got to add more to their offense, not just with the quarterback position, but also you need more elite level talent. You need better receivers. The running game needs to be more consistent too. And I don't think they should bring back Najee Harris. I think they need to go a different direction there. I think Jaylen Warren is a restricted free agent. But yeah, I if I'm the Steelers, I'm letting Najee Harris go. And I mean, there's receivers on the market that they could go after. There's Chris Godwin. Maybe they could take T. Higgins away from the Bengals. Who knows? But they need something. They need another threat opposite of George Pickens. And who knows how long George Pickens is going to last? How long are they going to put up with his antics? And this is kind of a common theme with Steelers receivers. They just act up. In different ways. With Antonio Brown, and then, you had Juju Smith-Schuster with the TikToks, and now you got George Pickens getting into fights with fans. It's just... But you know what? This organization, they take in players like that because they have Mike Tomlin, who's the enforcer, who's not going to stand for that. Now, stuff like this still continues to happen under his watch, but it's hard to coach a football team. I'm an outsider. It's hard. There's so many personalities that you have to you have to deal with. There's so many areas that you have to, be around for. It's a lot. So, you can't entirely fault him for that. I mean, also, he's not the one. I mean, he's got power, but, ultimately, he's not the guy that's making all the decisions to bring in certain players. But, yeah, I mean, look, I think if Russ is happy in Pittsburgh and the Steelers want to bring him back, he's going to come back. I'm going to say right now, I mean, it just everything points towards the Steelers bringing back Russ. But I think they also need to have a backup plan as well because, Russ is not going to be playing forever. And you need your quarterback of the future. They need that. So, in this draft coming up, the Steelers are a team that I think needs to draft a quarterback. And I'm not saying they're going to do that with their first pick, but, maybe if there is a guy that they like, they could take him in the late first round. But, I don't know. I mean, if you're bringing back Russ, that's an indication that, hey, we're still trying to compete here and, get to the playoffs, win in the playoffs, and, make a run here. Because they also have a defense that is I think is the most expensive defense in the NFL. And got guys on that defense that aren't getting any younger. So you got to get an offense that can complement that defense on a consistent basis. And it looked like that the Steelers might have finally had that. But then all of a sudden, 5-game losing streak happens. So they got to add more playmakers to this offense. And they do have some, and it's not like they don't have anything. It's just you need more. Whether that's a receiver, there are a ton of running backs in this draft. Let Najee Harris go and bring in another one. Pair him up with Jaylen Warren. Go that route. Maybe take another receiver. Either that or go out and sign one. They got to do something. But, yeah, I mean, all signs point to Russ coming back, I think. Because even when I talked about, what Art Rooney II had to say, they could bring back both, but not, or they could bring back one, just not the other. That's that's probably what's going to end up happening, and I think it's going to end up being Russ. It's going to be Russ that they bring back, and if that's the case, I mean the Steelers are going to, they'll win 9 games again, 9 or 10 games, and then that's it. I don't really expect them to do anything else. But that's what the Steelers like to do. And, that's why, their fans are kind of fed up because, it's just they've kind of been going through the same thing since Ben Roethlisberger retired. Hey, you made it through the grind of the regular season. Get to the postseason and what happens? And it's not even like they play these close games. They never stand a chance. These last 2 years, when they have made the playoffs, post Ben Roethlisberger, they have no chance. They go up against the Bills. The Bills go up 21-0 against them. Then they go up against the Ravens, 21-0. They never stand a chance. I mean, you knew after that first series, in the first round, they had no shot. They had no shot. And it's just that's what Steelers football has been in recent years. And, it stinks, but it's true. And, I thought the Steelers did well in the offseason. They tried to change things up. They brought in Russ, they brought in Justin Fields, but, it's just it just wasn't enough. Now, I don't know how the season would have played out had Justin Fields ended up starting the whole year. Like how would that have I'm just trying to fix my camera here. How would that have worked? I don't know. Man, man, camera just does not want to work today, guys. You're doing good in the beginning, then all of a sudden it just I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah, this is kind of like the Steelers quarterback position. It just works one day and then doesn't work the next. This is just so annoying. But just bear with me as I try to figure this out. Yeah, see, it just doesn't. I mean, thankfully, like I always say, I mean, I have my this is my laptop camera, but I don't understand why it does not want to work. I just don't get it. I don't get it. But okay, there we go. Now we're good for now. But yeah, I'm fine with the Steelers bringing back Russ, but I think you also need to plan for the future. They need to do that. And Russell Wilson's not going to be expensive, so that gives you that flexibility to go out and add more talent, specifically to the offense. And yeah, of course, they're going to add to their defense too, but the offense, I think, should be the priority this offseason. And that doesn't mean, spend like a drunken sailor and, go out there and, you know, just be irresponsible, but go and add more playmakers to this side of the ball because they need it. They need another threat besides George Pickens. You got Pat Fryermuth, you got George Pickens, but you need more. Calvin Austin, I like too. I liked some of he was making some plays for them this year, but they went out and they drafted Roman Wilson out of Michigan, and he did nothing for them. You traded Deontay Johnson, but you never replaced him. You traded for Mike Williams, you got him, and they barely used him. What was the point of that? So, and also, it's not even just that. People are going to complain about the play calling too. So it's just, I don't know. They got to figure it out. Russ wants to be there. There's mutual interest. They're probably going to keep him, and let's see what they do as a backup plan. I mean, I think they should go into this draft and maybe try to get, a quarterback in, not saying the first round, but maybe, in one of the later rounds, something. Main priority is bolster this offense. So we'll see what happens. But let me know what you guys think about Russ. Do you think the Steelers should bring him back, go in a different direction? Let me know in the comments. So we are going to take our final break of the show. I'm going to continue to try to fix this camera issue. And when we come back, we'll talk about Cam Newton, what he had to say regarding his MVP Super Bowl take. So for one final time today, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.